Good afternoon, everyone. iTech India welcomes all the participants for today's National Distance Learning Seminar Series. Today's topic is HIV and non-communicable diseases, and the speaker is Dr. Bipin K. Amin. Dr. Bipin K. Amin is the former program director of COE PJMC Ahmedabad. He is also on the editorial board peer reviewer for 6 indexed peer-reviewed scientific journals. He is a national training faculty for NACO for HIV care support and treatment. He has been working in the field of HIV for over 2 decades. He has authored and contributed modules on HIV-related topics in IGNO, PG Diploma in HIV Medicine, and WHO module on HIV and nutrition. He has authored many publications in indexed journals. We welcome you, sir, for today's session and request you to start the session.
Thank you, Shweta. I'm sure now I'm audible and visible also.
Yes, sir.
So there was some technical glitch, and that's why I'm late by 2-3 minutes. So at the outset, I thanks iTech India for inviting me, and I also thanks especially Shweta, Pravinji for all help. So friends, today I'm going to talk on non-communicable disease and HIV interplay. And this will be my agenda. So I'll brief you about what is non-communicable disease, what is current status and status of intervention in India, and just a minute, yeah. And why especially our HIV group, PLHIVs are vulnerable for non-communicable disease. For that, I will use certain basic slides for take you through the HIV, inflammation, and NCD interplay. And then what should be our approach for the most common NCDs, and what should be an actual role of ART center staff, including medical officer, counselor, nursing staff. So briefly, this is an overview. This is the data from very old survey, which was done before our national communicable disease program was launched, and which found that cardiovascular disease accounted for 1/4 of a total death occurring in India. And the key risk factor was hypertension. And if you see in that data, so almost a 30% in 7 or 8 states the data was done. And remarkably, what was an issue is that those who are detected, again 30%, in the tune of 30%, they were not having any control hypertension. Okay, so this was the alarming data, and that's how the story started. Okay, so what do we actually mean by non-communicable disease? What we mean by non-communicable disease is what we call a condition of an health that cannot be spread from person to person. So this is in reference to our communicable disease, like currently what we are facing. Okay, and WHO actually define it as a chronic disease, which include cardiovascular disease, diabetes, certain malignancies, chronic respiratory conditions, and even in mental health. So in today's talk, I will skip chronic respiratory condition, physical injuries, and mental health for the sake of time. This is, so if I have to say the word about this, these are the chronic disease, and they're very slowly evolving, but when they progress relentlessly. Okay, and until either somebody examine or screen that person is unaware because of a slow adaptation to this, and that's why they're called as a silent killer of the population. Okay, what are the reason why we have a non-communicable disease? Because there is a lot of combination of genetic factor, genetic predisposition, physiological factor, the sedentary or semi-sedentary lifestyles, environment factor, which are already addressed many of a time. But currently, with our economy has progressed, unhealthy and unbalanced diet, physical activity which has reduced, substance abuse like smoking or tobacco use and alcohol, this has actually prone us for more and more NCD. And for any country, it is not only a health hazard, it is an economic and financial burden also. Okay. So if you see on the right side of this, what I have written is currently in the last 2 decades or more, even our country has a major shift in epidemiology. And if you see, we used to have a lot of the disease which were communicable disease. There were more maternal and neonatal mortality. There were nutritional deficits. These were the more prominent issues. But if you see now, we have lifestyle disease, and that means that is what I call a non-communicable disease, and they contribute for the more morbidity and mortality. So this is the brief about this, and if you see that, this is the data which I was referring in this area. And to answer that, in 2010, Government of India, Ministry of Health came with the NPCD-CDS, which stands for National Program for Prevention and Control of Cancer, Diabetes, CVD, and stroke. And so these are the multiple agendas. I'm not going in that detail because that is not our objective for this. Now, which are the diseases which are considered here? So if you see on the left side, the primarily culprit is a cardiovascular disease, hypertension, ischemic and coronary heart disease, cerebral stroke. Then there is a because of environment factor, incidences of COPD, asthma, other restricted lung abnormalities, type 2 diabetes or a pre-diabetes, what we call obesity. On CNS, as I said, there are a lot of mental disorder, and a common like a breast cancer, cervical cancer, pulmonary malignancies, oral cancers. So these are the common, what we can call one of the common group of a non-communicable disease. Now, if you see the, how I can, HIV epidemiology also parallelly, in India also since after 1996, and once the NSCP was launched, and currently we are beyond the phase 4 of NSCP, epidemiology of HIV also changed. So the disease which was very life-threatening in a previous decades is now manageable chronic disease, the similar like a diabetes. Okay. And this is thanks to better availability of the newer antiretroviral agents, and these agents are available at all the HIV services, including ART center across the country. So now we have a subset of people who are on antiretroviral therapy, and they are virtually and virally suppressed, so they are living longer. And now this is the group which we have to be careful whether they are dealing when we are dealing with not only HIV but with the other things also. And if you see that this data, which is a projection by United Nations, and if you see that in 2020, almost 47% of the people were above the age of 50 years. And if you recall the early 90s, this was very, very low. Okay, people were dying, especially young people. And the assumption is that by 2030, we will be dealing more than 95% of the people who are above the age of 50 years. And that will give the challenge to manage them other than the HIV area. So let us come to the HIV infection. All of you know that this is what I was referring, that if you see the early period of our epidemic, there was all mortality was because of advanced HIV stage and because of opportunity infections. And if you see the gradually in a 21st century, if you see, there are addition of a non-communicable disease. So in a late period and further future, more and more NCDs will be a cause of concern as far as the HIV is referred. Now, just I would request all of you to concentrate on this figure. Here, if you can see that HIV itself on the left side, all of us know that what is the mitochondrial toxicity because of HIV infection. And these are the upregulation because of HIV infection. You can see a lot of inflammatory cytokines which are released. When we use an antiretroviral therapy, especially protease inhibitor and few of an NRTI, they also cause the this kind of area. The infections or opportunity infection like cytomegalovirus and microbial translocation from gut, this all ultimately in a known PLHIV actually cause inflammation, because there is increased monocytic inflammation. T cell, those who are surviving, they are activated, they are triggered one. There's a lot of endothelial dysfunction, which lead to not only a hypercoagulable state, but dyslipidemia also. And this all, and now genetically also, and because of our lifestyle, we have a risk for a non-communicable disease. So this is what the interplay of the HIV, the chronic inflammation, and the risk for a non-communicable disease. And on the right side of a chart, you can see the all number of diseases which are non-communicable. But if you see the primarily, it is cardiovascular risk factors, diabetic and other metabolic, followed by renal. There are premature aging and fragility neuro disease are also there. So this is the whole concept. I think I'll skip these slides. It is the same in another form. And this is those who are interested in detail. This is a very good the diagram in the from European Heart Journal, which they address in this article by Backers and Langren in 2011. And this shows in detail how the cytokine take place. And on right part, you can see the vascular injury. And when there is an organ specific vascular injury, you can see the insulin resistance. So once the insulin resistant as a part of accelerated inflammation is there, it will add on to vascular injury, and these are the responsible. So in short, what I want to convey that the HIV treated or untreated, both with addition of the risk factors for non-communicable disease, they are more vulnerable for the diseases like cardiovascular and diabetes. So these are the different series. If you see the again the interplay, antiretroviral, HIV infection which causes chronic inflammation, immune activation and hypercoagulability, and traditional risk factor which we are already very well aware of, they all lead to more chances of having non-communicable disease in this group of patients. Similarly, this is the you can see the byproduct. It should be actually bilateral. So which are the disease like obesity, dyslipidemia, diabetes? They all, there is a lot of interplay. Okay, so these all slides are same, and that whole theory was in the first study, which was SMART study. And if you see the conclusion of a SMART study, it was 3 important lines were there. When HIV is uncontrolled or untreated, that person will have a more inflammation, more endothelial damage, and they are at the increased CVD risk. So this was already one of the secondary endpoint in a SMART study was established. Now, out of our all patients at our ART center, which are the patients which are more vulnerable is number 1, who are diagnosed late. So the late diagnosis of HIV, it has their own issue. Those patients who are still using an older antiretroviral agents, because the efficacy is different, they have a more mitochondrial toxicity. So this group of PLHIV who receive this agent, they are also vulnerable. And if you have a non-immune recovery patient, so somebody's CD4 is persistently, despite, I'm referring in HIV-1 virus, where your continuous CD4 of the last few years will be around 100. There is never an immune recovery. So those who are geriatric patients or this kind of one less immune recovered patient, these are the patients who are more vulnerable. And remember that this patient, as in our basic tendency at ART center, we always try to address the issues of a HIV related illness, and sometimes it is possible that we may be neglecting their non-HIV areas also. Now these are the just symbolic, most of the data of non-communicable disease in PLHIV population is coming from African countries. There are a lot of interesting data. I will not go into detail, but all the data which I have shown, these are the 3 important papers. I think by mistake I have not copied the journals. I'll do that later on. But these are the retrospective and prospective cohorts which are important. and all suggest that the PLHIV group is more vulnerable. Now let us come to the another part of my today's session. As I said, these are the group of disease which we are discussing, and this is what the group which is HIV and hypertension. So let us see the interplay between this. Can I change? Okay, yeah, okay. So this is about the important how we can deal with the actually if you have an HIV. So the first point is how you will screen, or which are the group which you should screen. So the current understanding says that all PLHIV adult above 18 years of age should be screened for hypertension at the time of registration. I'm sure all the medical officers are examining this patient, but sometimes we may not be very meticulous in measuring their blood pressure at the monthly meeting. So make sure that those who are on antiretroviral therapy should be again screened for hypertension at least once in a 6 months. And third important indicator is whenever they're symptomatic, like complaint of headache or lack of concentration, this kind of symptom which are suggestive of this kind of hypertension should be. Now, all of you know how to diagnose. We know the age-old standard blood pressure measurement protocol, 2 separate visit, and if your blood pressure is higher, they are designated as hypertensive. Some of these patients, they are also sometimes admitted with the hypertensive emergencies in medical ward. They are also, that is how we can diagnose. And when I use how to screen PLHIV for hypertension, I just don't mention, or I don't want to include only the blood pressure measurement, but screening also include this. Like at least there should be an electrocardiogram done. They should be done renal function, simple urine examination, proteinuria or cast. They should be screened for a diabetes, and they should be screened for dyslipidemias also. The important issue would be a referral. So those, at least those who are in a district hospital, ART center or medical college, they do have a medicine department or a physician on board, so they can be referred, so proper referral. But on a right side, what I have written is that basically we can use, these are the 4 important group of a drug, antihypertensive, like an angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor, which all of you know, there's ramipril or lisinopril. Then calcium channel blocker like an amlodipine, thiazide diuretics, and beta blockers. So these are the 4 main group of drugs which can be used as an antihypertensive drug. The principle says that anyone who need it, they should be started with monotherapy. That should be dose titration, and if required, either dose upscaling or dual therapy should be done. Now, sometime what happened that this PLHIV will be referred to medicine department, some drug will be started. So once that particular drug is started, it will be a duty of ART center to look for monitoring of this blood patient. So the most important is the target maintenance of blood pressure should be less than 140/90 at least, because these are OPD records. And we have to see the drug interaction also. So fortunately, AC inhibitors and thiazide have no drug interaction with most of our antiretroviral agents. Calcium channel blocker do have a drug interaction, but fortunately again that ARV levels are not affected by calcium channel blocker, most of the common calcium channel blocker, but antiretroviral do change the level of a calcium channel blocker or CCB, especially if you are using PI, then the calcium channel blocker level will be again up, and if you are using an NRTI, then the CCB level will be reduced. So you may have to upscale or downscale the dose of a calcium channel blocker without changing antiretroviral therapy in a PLHIV who is a hypertensive also. Coming to the next part, important is the cardiovascular risk factor, those who are having cardiovascular morbidity and mortality. So what the cardiovascular risk factor will be: detection of hypertension, diabetes, altered lipid profile, obesity or overweight, those who are physically very inactive, those who are using a substance abuse like a tobacco or alcohol, unhealthy diet and nutrition, and those who have a family history of a very early age cardiovascular disorder. So if any of your PLHIV at the screening time is having this kind of risk factor, we need to look this patient in more detail. So again, all patients at the time of registration and at least 3 monthly interval for first 1 year, followed by twice annually, evaluation should be done for all PLHIV. And while doing that, we need to take all the detailed history of a symptom which are suggestive of cardiovascular disease, the personal history, past history, and these are the evaluations. So I have already narrated all the detail, which I will not read for. The important thing for ART team would be those PLHIV having the chest pain, the exertion dyspnea, DOE stand for dyspnea on exertion, cardiac failure suspicion. So these all need to be referred to either a medicine department or a cardiology department, depending on the facility available, where they can be actually managed properly. So these are the acute condition where we need to act little faster. All this patient having a cardiovascular risk factor, the statin therapy is very important. Remember that there is an impact of an antiretroviral therapy, especially if they are on efavirenz and protease inhibitor, where sometimes you will need a single drug substitution required for the atorvastatin. And nowadays, as such, also we are not using simvastatin and lovastatin. But remember that these are contraindicated in presence of protease inhibitor if you are using for antiretroviral as a ARV. Coming to the third important non-communicable disease is a diabetes. And I am sure that the whole of the audience is aware, all the ART team, there should be a screening again at the ART registration. So remember that repeatedly I am using the word screening of all adult PLH at the time of registration. This is mandatory, and our older guideline also had advised that. And then once in a 3 month, the person should be screened for diabetes. Okay. Or if you are changing the antiretroviral regime, every time you have to actually look for a sugar. And those who are symptomatic, having a polyuria or polydysplasia, any of a symptom which suggests diabetes, they also should be screened. Now, all of you know what is the diagnostic criteria. So first four are like if there is a random sugar more than 200, this is important in a symptomatic patient. If you can get the fasting blood sugar, that is well and good. But remember that sometimes the patient would require a second visit. So we can always plan. And if let's say for example, today patient has come for ART schedule visit, you can give next time when you come, the patient can get the fasting blood sugar. For there is another diagnostic test which you know, the oral glucose tolerance test, and HbA1c can be done anytime, irrespective of the fasting or fed condition. And if it is more than 6.5, that itself is a diagnostic. All this patient, even if you suspect the diabetes, make sure that you order the lipids, renal function and urine examination if the facility is available. This is very mandatory because diabetes could be part of a general cardiovascular disease. Once they are detected diabetic and once they are on drug, remember that we have to take care of a fasting postprandial at least once in a month, periodic 6 monthly HbA1c, periodic clinical examination, and important is a screening for micro and macro complication. So microvascular complication will be the end organ damage like retina, so retinopathy, nephropathy, cardiac condition, okay, and macro complication will be changes on the skin, diabetic foot changes, skin changes, and peripheral vascular disease. So this is so those who are PLHIV with diabetes, we need to address this issue also. Management is primarily of this patient with PLHIV and diabetes is divided into major important. Number one and most important or equally important is a lifestyle modification, or which is known as a non-pharmacological therapy. Optimizing weight. So if they are overweight, you correct that and encourage them to reduce. The foot care, okay, and discouraging for the substance abuse. And the second part, which is known as the pharmacological therapy, where in PLHIV group, there are two important drugs, oral anti-diabetic agents. One is a metformin for a type 2 diabetes, and second is a sulfonylurea, which is in a sequential step. Sometimes we may need an insulin for those who are having the surgical intervention required in a management. I will not go into more detail how to treat the diabetes, but very important take-home message that whenever we are using a metformin, we need to check the liver and kidney status, and we need to look for whether there's an active tuberculosis or not. If there is a severe wasting or patient is having suspected the congestive heart failure, CHF, then there are more chances of lactic acidosis, and metformin is one of the lactic acidosis inducer. So we need to be very, very careful in this kind of patient. Friends, all of you know that dolutegravir is our mainstay of our current NACO regimes. And so there is a caveat that you cannot actually use more of a metformin. So limit is to use a 1 gram. And while you are using a metformin DTG, we need to monitor the renal function and the glycemic control also. If we are using a sulfonylurea like glimepiride or gliclazide kind of a drug, then we have to remember that NNRT and protease inhibitor will reduce the level of sulfonylurea, and the patient will have a bad diabetes control. So in short, we need to down titrate or up titrate the dose of anti-diabetic drugs, and we need to be careful if we are using a protease inhibitor also. Coming to the another part of a renal involvement, this is the standard textbook classification of the HIV-associated renal condition. All of you know the term called HIVAN, HIV-associated nephropathy, which are of different types, like an glomerular dominant, it could be tubular interstitial, vascular dominant, or other nephropathies. These all are different conditions. More of the whole classification is based on histopathology. So as a take-home message, what should be important that the patient with the HIV infection with advanced age may have a comorbid kidney disease as in part of diabetic nephropathy or nephrosclerosis, which is becoming increasingly common. Hypertension and type 2 diabetes are also currently leading cause of a renal disease in a non-HIV population also. And remember the hepatitis C infection, they also cause the extra hepatic manifestation in form of renal involvement. So these are also the subset which do contribute for the connection, other morbidity and mortality in the PLHIV group. The important issue as far as the drug is concerned, that using an AC inhibitors, angiotensin converter inhibitor, has shown the improved renal protection or renal survival. Durable HIV viral suppression is also favorably for the renal survival, and timely intervention in form of a dialysis is also linked with the good prognosis. So early screening at the time of ART registration, and all of you know that renal function, at least creatinine, to getting creatinine in urine is very, very important. And thereafter, a periodic screening is important. And remember that continuum of care concept which we consider for HIV, that is also applicable to the continuum of care from HIV to NCD as far as the renal is concerned. The word about HIV and malignancy in a later part. So here, always remember the prevention of a malignancy is the best approach. So if you are, if you know that person is a tobacco user, encourage to leave the tobacco, encourage them for the healthy dietary practice. Okay, for early detection, this is the range of symptoms or features I have written. We need to make our PLHI group aware about these symptoms also. So we may have some chart at our end, center when we want to club the non-communicable disease with HIV. Something like a change in a bowel and bladder habit. This could be a case of a large bowel or colon cancer. If they have some ulcer or wound which is not healing, it could be a subcutaneous metastasis. Unusual bleeding or discharge in a female patient per vaginal could be a case of a cervical cancer. Same way, lump in the breast or any other lump or skin malignancy. So if the patients are aware about these possible features of the malignant or cancer, then they would proactively report to a medical officer if they have any of this. We also can encourage them for a self-education or self-examination for any unusual symptom, like self-examination of breast in female client. So this can be done as an activity which will make them aware. Now, about the cervical cancer, all reproductive age group of a female should be screened for cervical cancer at the ART initiation. Then even if they are negative on the first visit, repeat screening should be done once in another 3 years. And those who are, though sometimes those people are treated also, so they also need a screening, kind of and follow-up screening. Those having the, if you want to address the breast carcinoma, then the all female PLHIV above the age of 30 years should be screened. And these are the risk factor. All of you know that breast carcinoma is more common in if this the first pregnancy at the older age, or early menarche, late menopause, nulliparous woman. Those female are on a hormonal replacement therapy after menopause for a longer period of time. The family history of a breast cancer is very, very important in first degree relative. And physical inactivity, obese menopausal women, they are at the risk of a breast carcinoma. So this is how we should screen them also at the initiation of the registration time, then once in a 3 year, which I said. The oral cancer, if I address, tobacco chewing is and betel nut chewing is a very common health hazard as a customary practice in every state of India. So we need to keep a more emphasis on a cessation of tobacco use. Now we need to encourage our PLHIV patient, those who are having the any precancerous lesions, so make them aware about the leukoplakia, persistent red mucosal palatal changes, those who are having submucous fibrosis with the tobacco use. So all male patient above 30 years of age who have and oral examination is part of our routine monthly examination. So when we want to say the fungal infection, okay, candida, at the same time we can also visually examine the oral cavity, and repeated periodic screening will be done, which can be part of this. What is more important nowadays? So what I have dealt is I have taken the non-communicable endocrine disease, cardiovascular risk factor, and few of a malignancy I have addressed as an overview. Coming to the preventive health, now this is very, very important message we need to give to the PLHIV. They need to be having the active lifestyle when they are having better health, moderate activity or exercise, practicing meditation or yoga is important. Weight control is very, very important. I agree that most of our patients are underweight, but those nowadays we are having a good weight or overweight PLHIV also. So we can encourage them for maintaining their proper weight, balanced diet. They can be advised to restrict salt and sugar, which is a very important message, avoiding the substance abuse, tobacco, alcohol, and most important part, they need to control their HIV equally. If they are untreated or uncontrolled, they are safe. And that's why treatment adherence not only to antiretroviral therapy, but by chance if they are on anti-diabetic, anti-hypertensive, they need to be treatment adherent for this also. In a nutshell, at HIV care facility, what are the different role? So the all medical officer, all of you are aware that we need to conduct a comprehensive clinical examination, more so at the time of ART registration. And whenever we are doing ART registration, now it is a high time that we do screen them for non-communicable disease also. We need to aware of, and we need to make referral and linkages to NCD clinic, because most of the community health center, district hospital, they do have NCD clinic. In a medical college, medicine department is having the dedicated NCD OPD or clinic. We need to rule out the complication of an advanced stage. We need to refer for a higher care also. And so this is the what the important role of a medical officer. Staff nurse can have a very good support role for a screening of diabetes, hypertension, because getting a blood sugar with the finger prick can be done by the center. Okay. Nursing staff will assist medical officer for monitoring blood pressure and certain examination, and they also will make the PLHIV more aware about this. Counselor are key role, and they can actually, they have a very good rapport with our PLHIV group, so they can convey the counseling for lifestyle modification, diet management, and all which I have listed. Like they can also suggest that how to avoid tobacco and alcohol, what are the health hazards. So as a part of HIV counseling, now we need a more comprehensive counseling for health promotion, not only for health maintenance. And our care support centers, they also have very good role in behavioral change, like dietary counseling. They do have a, on the World AIDS Day, they will have a lot of camps and everything. But these activities should be continuous activity for promoting positive health also. So friends, what I have done in a stipulated time, that we have gone through the what is NCD definition and which are the disease, what is the HIV causing the chronic inflammation, and how you can why PLHIV group, because of HIV infection, because of ART treatment, and because of the traditional risk factor, why they are more vulnerable for non-communicable disease. So in summary, I would say that equally important is to address the need for non-communicable disease while we are doing HIV care, which is excellently we are doing since years. With effective ART, now we have a more and more number of people who are living longer, and as they are having more advanced age, they are vulnerable and they will experience the non-communicable disease with the aging process. So if we club both HIV and non-communicable disease care at the particular common health center, then we will be able to take care of effective acute and chronic care, and we will be able to do an adherence to treatment support. Chronic HIV care actually provide us opportunity for screening, monitoring, and managing the non-communicable disease at ART center. The last two lines are for if you have any malignancy related, make sure that they do not stop the antiretroviral therapy, and there has to be a comprehensive the understanding between ART team, if required physicians and oncologists, for a comprehensive better management. So for a take-home message, I would say that there are always a high chance of non-communicable disease in PLHIV group. NCD pathogenesis is still very complex and still we are learning. This PLHIV group have a conventional risk factor which are there for a non-HIV population, especially in India in 21st century. So we need to promote the preventive health strategy, important. And as I said previously, chronic HIV care at our all ART center will give a chance, and we all are empowered to screen all our PLHIV group for non-communicable disease, and we need to understand the timely referral also. With this, I will stop here, and I think this is my referral. So for a better learning, and for this session, I have actually used few of the data from the upcoming draft guidelines of NACO also, some web cert. I'm thanking to ITAC for NDLS archive session sharing. And I'm thankful to the NACO headquarters, all the official, Dr. Chinmoy, Dr. Maninder, and other team, iTech India, Shweta, and all that. And my old center of excellence from BJMC, where I worked for 4 decades. So thank you again. And thank you for patiently listening.
Thank you, sir. Participants are requested to kindly unmute their mics if they have any questions. So please feel free to write in the chat box. So we have one question in the chat box.
Yes.
Suggestion of use of telmisartan in PLHIV.
Yeah, so telmisartan is it is actually blocker. So we call an ARB. Okay, so angiotensin receptor blocker. More or less, it is same. The only problem with they are known as a sartan group. Sartan group has, we have to remember, one contraindication or precaution is a very high uric acid. So if you have any patient, you need to be little cautious in high uric acid patient. Otherwise, it's a good option. In fact, ARBs or angiotensin receptor blocker are good if you have already a kidney which is damaged, or if you have a single kidney or something where the AC inhibitor is contraindicated, or somebody is an asthma, then also you can use that as an optional drug.
Any more questions? Participants can please unmute themselves.
There is a hand raised from Brijesh Kumar.
Yeah, Brijesh Kumar, sir, would you like to go ahead with your question? Please unmute.
Meanwhile, Shweta, can we see any other questions in the chat box?
No, sir. There are no questions in the chat box right now, sir.
I'm sure I have compiled the more of a comprehensive overview of non-communicable disease, and the August audience, all of you are very well aware of how to screen and manage the disease which I have said. So I'm not facing much of a questions actually.
Any more questions from the participants? Brijesh Kumar, sir, can you please unmute your mic? So maybe the hand was raised accidentally.
Okay.
No questions in the chat box also, sir. Yeah, thank you so much for the session, sir. Thank you to all the participants for patient listening. So we can end the session now.
Okay, thank you all once again.
Thank you, sir.
And best wishes for upcoming Diwali festival to all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.